In the far reaches of the galaxy, there was an alien empire ruled by a powerful and majestic race. Among them was Princess Zalora, a warrior known for her beauty, strength, and the unmatched skill she wielded in battle. She was not just a figure of royalty, but a fierce leader who commanded respect across the stars. Her enemies feared her, and her allies admired her, for she was both a brilliant tactician and a fierce fighter. The galaxy had heard of her victories in countless battles. But despite all her accomplishments, Zalora found herself caught in a dangerous game of political power. Zalora's empire had long been ruled by a corrupt council of leaders who had betrayed the trust of their people. They were greedy, power-hungry, and unworthy of the throne they held. Zalora, once loyal to the empire, could no longer stand by and watch as her people suffered. She led a daring coup, planning to overthrow the corrupt council and bring justice to her people. But the coup failed. Betrayed by those she once called allies, Zalora was captured, and her fate was sealed. The council, fearing her power, sentenced her to exile, a punishment far worse than death. Zalora's exile was not to a remote planet or a distant moon, she was sent to Earth, a planet so primitive that the entire galaxy had written it off as insignificant. The people of Earth were nothing more than a joke in the eyes of the galaxy's advanced civilizations. They had no idea that the planet was about to become the stage for something far greater than anyone could imagine. Her ship crashed violently onto the surface of Earth, the damage leaving her stranded and vulnerable. The once proud princess now lay in the ruins of her ship, disoriented and bruised. Her advanced technology, the tools that had once made her an unstoppable force, was broken. Her armor was shattered, and her weapons were rendered useless. For the first time in her life, Zalora was powerless. Her once invincible form was now reduced to that of an alien stranger on a strange world. As she stumbled from the wreckage of her ship, she was filled with rage and confusion. The planet around her was primitive, wild, and uncivilized. How could they send her here? Earth was a place where even the mightiest beings would fall, and she had been cast here like an unwanted slave. This planet was her punishment, and it burned within her. The people of Earth would never understand the power she once commanded, and she was forced to live amongst those she considered weak. But the physical challenges weren't the only thing weighing on Zalora. The deepest wound she felt was not from the crash, nor from the loss of her power. It was the sense of betrayal that stung her soul. She had always believed that her empire, her people, and her council would stand with her, but they had turned their backs on her. Those she thought she could trust had handed her over to a fate worse than death. They had betrayed her, cast her aside like she was nothing more than a pawn in their game of power. Zalora's heart was heavy with grief as she sat on the cold ground, staring up at the alien sky. The stars no longer felt like home. They felt distant, unreachable. The empire she had once fought for was now just a memory, and the people she had protected had chosen to destroy her. She could not understand why they had turned on her. The betrayal from her own people was worse than any wound. How could she, a warrior trained for battle, fight against this new enemy, her own heartbreak? The alien princess, once so proud and powerful, was now alone in a world she didn't understand, with no one to turn to. The humans here, the creatures that inhabited this strange planet, were unaware of her existence, and they certainly didn't care. The thought that she could possibly become one of them, weak and insignificant, was unthinkable. But deep down, she knew something had to change. She could not simply sit here and let Earth claim her as its own. Her anger was boiling inside her, a fire that refused to be extinguished. Zalora was not done yet. No matter how much she had been betrayed, no matter how broken she would rise again. And Earth would soon learn that even the most powerful empires in the galaxy had made a fatal mistake in exiling her to this planet. Zalora, the fallen princess, had one thing left, her will to survive. After the crash, Zalora stumbled through the dense forests of Earth, still disoriented and furious. Her advanced alien senses were clouded by the strange atmosphere of the planet, and her strength, once unparalleled, was now just a shadow of what it had been. The fire of rage still burned in her chest, but now she was forced to survive in a world she did not understand. Just as she was preparing to flee into the wilderness, Jackson, a human soldier from a nearby military base, discovered her. Jackson had been patrolling the area when he saw the wreckage of Zalora's ship. Being trained to respond to any foreign threats, he approached cautiously, his hand resting on the weapon at his side. He wasn't sure what he was dealing with, an alien, a survivor, or something much more dangerous. But one thing was clear, Zalora was not just any ordinary woman. As soon as he got close, Zalora's sharp eyes locked onto him. Even in her weakened state, she was dangerous. With a sudden, fluid motion, she raised her arm and prepared to strike. But Jackson, quicker than she expected, disarmed her with a swift move, bringing her to the ground. Zalora snarled, refusing to give up without a fight. She was used to being the one in control, not some human soldier. But despite her alien strength, she couldn't overcome his military training. After a few tense moments, Zalora found herself pinned to the ground, out of breath and seething with anger. "Stay down," Jackson said, his voice steady but firm. Zalora's eyes glowed with fury, but she understood the situation. She could fight, but she was not in her prime. For now, she had no choice but to listen. After a long silence, Jackson slowly let her up, his eyes never leaving hers. He had no idea who or what she was, but something about her intrigued him. She wasn't just some helpless alien. She was strong, resilient, and dangerous. Yet, despite her pride, there was something in her eyes, an unspoken plea for help. Jackson decided to take her back to the military base, unsure of whether she posed a threat, but knowing she needed assistance. The decision would change everything. At the base, Zalora was forced to confront the reality of her situation. She could no longer rely on her advanced alien technology. Her weapons were broken, and her technology was useless. She was stranded in a foreign world with no choice but to survive. Jackson kept her under guard, but he couldn't help but notice the fierce intelligence in her eyes. She was no ordinary alien. Over time, Zalora's pride began to fade. At first, she refused to speak to Jackson or any of the humans around her. She still saw them as weak, beneath her. But slowly, Jackson's persistence wore down her defenses. He wasn't afraid of her, and he didn't treat her like an enemy. Instead, he treated her as someone he needed to understand. He kept asking questions. Questions about her origins, her people, and her intentions. Zalora, though reluctant, started answering. As the days passed, she began to learn about Earth. She had always believed that humans were primitive, incapable of standing up to the advanced civilizations of the galaxy. But Jackson's kindness, and the way he treated her like a warrior, not just a prisoner, started to change her perspective. Jackson, too, started to see Zalora not just as an alien, but as someone who had fallen from grace, someone who wasn't so different from him after all. He was no stranger to loss and betrayal. Over time, their interactions became less about hostility and more about survival. They were both warriors in different ways, both fighting for something they could not fully understand. The bond between them grew, though it was slow and filled with tension. Zalora began to adapt to Earth's way of life, though she still struggled with the simplest human tasks. She didn't understand their food, their culture, or even how their weapons worked. Everything about this world was foreign to her, but Jackson was patient. He taught her how to use human weapons, how to navigate their technology, and even how to blend into their society. For Zalora, every lesson felt like an insult. She was a princess, a warrior, someone who had commanded respect across the stars. Yet here she was, learning how to fight with tools she considered primitive and walking among humans who seemed far weaker than the soldiers of her empire. But as she spent more time with Jackson, she began to realize that Earth wasn't just a backward planet, it had something powerful that no alien technology could replicate, its people. Slowly, Zalora started to trust Jackson, seeing in him not just a soldier, but someone who could help her become strong again. And Jackson, who had once feared the alien princess, began to admire her, her strength, her courage, and the fire that still burned within her, even when she had nothing left to fight for. Together, they would discover that Earth held secrets even they couldn't have imagined. Zalora had always prided herself on her combat skills. As an alien princess and warrior, she had been trained in some of the galaxy's most advanced techniques. But after being exiled to Earth, she was forced to confront a harsh reality. She was stranded on a primitive planet, with no way to contact her people or return home. The thought of staying in captivity while her enemies back on her homeworld continued their plans was unbearable. Jackson, who had been guarding her, saw the frustration and fire in her eyes. He knew she couldn't remain helpless forever. After several days of observing her, he offered a proposal: "Let me train you. You need to adapt if you want to survive here." At first, Zalora hesitated. Her pride made it hard for her to accept help, especially from a human. She had been a princess, a leader, and now she was forced to rely on a soldier from a weak planet. But deep down, she knew she had no choice. She agreed to the training, but with one condition: "I will learn your ways, but I won't be your servant. I am still a warrior." Jackson, understanding her pride, nodded in agreement. This wasn't about submission, it was about survival. Training began immediately. Jackson introduced Zalora to basic human survival skills, starting with hand-to-hand combat and physical conditioning. To his surprise, Zalora was a natural. Her alien body, though weakened by her crash, was still far more advanced than any humans. She adapted quickly, using her superior strength, speed, and agility to her advantage. It wasn't long before she was performing exercises that Jackson himself found difficult. Her natural combat instincts, honed over years of battle, came flooding back. Jackson could see the change happening. Zalora was no longer just a confused alien. She was regaining the warrior mindset she had once held. She started to feel the rush of empowerment. Every punch she landed, every obstacle she overcame, made her realize she wasn't powerless. She was still a force to be reckoned with. Slowly, she began to enjoy the challenge, feeling more and more like the warrior she once was. As the days passed, Jackson introduced Zalora to human technology, advanced weapons, AI systems, and combat simulations. He showed her how human soldiers trained with high-tech gear like powered exoskeletons, laser rifles, and holographic battlefields. For Jackson, it was a dream come true to have such an advanced alien as his pupil. But for Zalora, it was more than just new technology, it was a chance to rise again. Despite Earth's primitive reputation in the galaxy, their technology was impressive, and Zalora quickly saw the potential. But her alien physiology gave her an edge no one had expected. Her brain could process information faster than humans, and her reflexes were superhuman. Within days, she was able to adapt to the complex AI systems used for simulations. The military training simulations, designed to test human soldiers, seemed easy for her. She was faster, smarter, and stronger, allowing her to master tactics that would normally take weeks for a human to learn. As Jackson watched her progress, he realized something incredible: Zalora wasn't just learning to survive on Earth, she was transforming into the perfect soldier. Her alien combat techniques, when combined with Earth's technology, made her more dangerous than any human soldier. She became a super soldier, but unlike anything Jackson had ever imagined. The next few weeks passed in a blur of intense training. Zalora and Jackson spent countless hours running simulations, engaging in physical training, and learning how to use weapons like laser rifles and plasma grenades. The battle simulations became their primary focus. Zalora would enter the simulation room, where realistic virtual enemies would appear. She fought with the same skill and precision that had made her famous in the galaxy. The AI would adapt to her strategies, making each simulation harder, but Zalora kept improving. Jackson was constantly amazed by her abilities. Not only could Zalora use human technology better than anyone else, but her alien strength and speed made her nearly unstoppable. Her knowledge of combat tactics, though different from human methods, made her an incredible asset. With every simulation, she became more powerful and more confident. But Zalora wasn't just learning to fight, she was also learning what it meant to be human. Jackson showed her the power of teamwork, communication, and leadership, skills that would be vital when the time came to face whatever threats Earth had yet to encounter. Zalora no longer saw herself as just a fallen princess. She had begun to see herself as a warrior, not defined by her past, but by what she was becoming. The training not only rebuilt her physical strength but also her mental fortitude. She was no longer afraid of being weak, she was ready to fight, to take back what was rightfully hers. Earth had become her new battlefield, and she would make sure the galaxy knew her name once again. Back on Zalora's home planet, her empire is in turmoil. The leaders are terrified of what she's becoming. Zalora was once their beloved princess, a symbol of power and strength, but now she represents a threat to their authority. As her powers grow, the empire realizes that she could become the catalyst for a revolution. If she leads an uprising, their rule over the galaxy would crumble. To prevent this, the Empire sends their most trusted galactic commander, Vornak, to Earth. His mission is simple: find Zalora, eliminate her, and bring her back in chains before she can become a weapon that could challenge the Empire's control over the galaxy. Vornak is ruthless, skilled in both military tactics and the use of advanced technology. He's been sent to deal with many rebels before, and he doesn't hesitate. As Zalora's strength increases, the Empire begins tracking her every move. They know she's no longer just an exiled princess, she's becoming a warrior, and that's something they cannot allow. Zalora and Jackson are out in the field one evening, running combat drills to test her skills when the atmosphere suddenly changes. The hair on the back of Jackson's neck stands up, and Zalora's heightened senses pick up on the unusual energy signatures nearby. Before they can react, a sudden explosion shakes the ground. A group of alien soldiers, led by Vornak, appears from the shadows. They've come to capture or kill Zalora, and they're well prepared. The moment the aliens step into view, Zalora's instincts kick in. She springs into action, grabbing her weapon and sprinting toward the attackers. Jackson, though still human, doesn't hesitate either. His training with Zalora has prepared him for moments like this. They move as one unit, Zalora taking down aliens with precision and speed, and Jackson covering her back, firing his rifle with deadly accuracy. The battle is intense. Laser blasts light up the sky, and explosions rip through the ground. The aliens are powerful, armed with advanced energy weapons, but they're not prepared for Zalora. Her alien strength and combat skills, honed over years of battle, make her a whirlwind of destruction. She twists and flips through the air, disarming attackers with brutal precision, leaving them sprawled on the ground. As Zalora fights, her powers become more apparent. Her speed is unnatural, and her strikes are lethal. The aliens can barely keep up as she moves with the grace and agility of a seasoned warrior. Jackson's respect for her grows, and he realizes just how outmatched the Empire is by her abilities. He's starting to see the truth: humanity, though outclassed in technology, is not weak. In fact, with Zalora's help, they may stand a chance against any force in the galaxy. Vornak, watching the battle unfold from a distance, is forced to engage personally. He's a warrior himself, and he's not about to let a former princess become the downfall of his empire. He charges towards Zalora, his armor glowing with energy as he activates a powerful energy blade. The two meet in a clash of sparks and fury, Zalora's alien strength meeting Vornak's technological prowess. The fight between them is brutal. Vornak's weapon crackles with energy, while Zalora uses her speed and raw power to dodge and strike. The ground beneath them trembles as they exchange blows, neither giving an inch. Finally, with a swift move, Zalora knocks Vornak to the ground, disarming him in the process. The tension is palpable as she stands over him, her eyes filled with determination. She's no longer the helpless princess. She's a warrior. As the dust settles, Jackson looks at Zalora with a new sense of admiration. He had always known she was powerful, but now he understood just how much she had to offer. The Empire's forces, though vast and technologically advanced, had underestimated her, and that mistake could cost them dearly. Jackson now knows that humanity has something the Empire doesn't, the will to fight, and the strength to stand up to even the most powerful forces in the galaxy. Zalora, breathing heavily from the intense battle, looks at Jackson, her eyes filled with a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. She's not the woman she was when she crashed onto Earth. She's more. And with Jackson by her side, they're ready for whatever comes next. The war for the galaxy has only just begun, the final battle is fast approaching. Zalora has spent weeks preparing for this moment, training with the best that both Earth and her own advanced technology can offer. Her skills have reached their peak. No longer a fallen princess, she's now a warrior, one who commands immense power. Armed with alien weapons and enhanced by human technology, she leads a team of soldiers to take down the Empire's invading forces. The stakes are high, and the battle is fierce. The enemy, led by Vornak, has launched a full-scale assault, determined to reclaim control of Earth and bring Zalora back into their grasp. They've underestimated the humans' resilience, and they've certainly underestimated Zalora. With every move, she proves that she is a force to be reckoned with. She is no longer the exiled princess, she's become humanity's weapon. Jackson, now by her side as her trusted ally, follows her lead, helping organize strategic attacks. Together, they plan a counteroffensive, using every advantage Earth has, stealth tactics, surprise strikes, and advanced weaponry. The war between Earth and the Empire's forces is no longer just about politics, it's about survival. The battle rages on, with explosions echoing in the sky, laser beams cutting through the air, and advanced technology clashing in a deadly dance. Zalora's alien abilities are on full display as she fights, moving faster than any human could hope to. She uses both her strength and human-made tech to outsmart the Empire's soldiers. She can feel her power growing with each successful strike, and it's clear to her that this is no longer just about revenge. She's fighting for something bigger, she's fighting to protect those who once seemed insignificant, to protect humanity from the very empire that exiled her. The final push comes as Zalora and her team breach the Empire's main command center. The battle becomes more intense than ever, but Zalora leads the charge. She takes down enemies with precision, using everything from her alien abilities to human-made tech. Jackson fights beside her, showing just how far he's come as a soldier. Together, they make a formidable team, and their victory seems inevitable. As the dust settles from the battle, Zalora and Jackson take a moment to rest, overlooking the battlefield. It's been a hard-fought victory, but they've won. For the first time since she was exiled, Zalora feels peace. She looks at Jackson, who has been her ally, her friend, and the one who showed her that humans aren't weak. "I never thought I'd find respect for humans," Zalora admits, her voice softer than before. "But you've shown me that your kind is far more resilient than I ever imagined. You fight for your people, no matter the odds." Jackson smiles, though it's bittersweet. "We fight because we have to. You've taught us what it means to be strong." Zalora nods, feeling the weight of her journey. She's no longer a prisoner of the past. She's no longer just a tool for her empire. She's found a new purpose. And it's not just about revenge, it's about protecting the very species she once saw as weak.